I consider it to be a credible rumor, is that the Rams may somehow come up with Von Miller at the end of the day.
Ooh, that would be huge.
Amazing.
That'd be dangerous.
Amazing.
That's the first I've heard of that.
There he is.
There he
Sorry
is.
about that. What's up, guys?
The man, the myth.
Hanging
How's it
out,
going, Steve?
chilling.
It's going good, man. I see a Rams shirt. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Big Rams fan.
I'm in the Rams gear today.
There we go.
Attaboy.
All right.
I should have put my Niners gear on then. You know,
No need. No need.
Get out of here, George.
Start it up, Jason.
All right. Welcome, everybody, back to the Backcourt Brews and Sports podcast. My name is Jason Levy, and I'm here with
Jordan Estrada. And who do we have, Drew?
This is Drew Jenkins over here, and I'm very pleased to announce that we have a very special guest in Steve Mason, the host of the Mason in Ireland podcast and co-host of the Culture Pop podcast. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, great, guys. How are you?
Awesome,
great.
man. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me.
So, Steve, I got a question for you real quick. Are you a beer guy?
Am I a beer guy?
Yes. Do you drink beer?
I don't. I have my own. I as you may know from the show, I'm not a drinker.
Oh, okay.
But I do occasionally alter my state, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
So, but I'm not faded right now.
Oh, okay. We were wondering. We were like, we didn't know, maybe, possibly.
I make no sense when I am. None.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're rolling with it. All right. So something we always start the show with is what we're drinking.
Yep.
So we're a beer and sports podcast. So we always drink a beer when we're going. So George, you want to tell us what you're drinking over there?
This is a very, very special barrel-aged stout from Blacktooth Brewing out here in Sheridan, Wyoming. I relocated from SoCal to Wyoming recently, and this is a 11.8 Russian Imperial stout. I mean, it's they barrel-aged it in Wyoming whiskey barrels, and it's basically rocket fuel, but it's delicious rocket fuel. So,
oh yeah, give it a sip, George.
the complexities, the depth. And you just want to just let it sit on your tongue. It's a beautiful drink. I'm not gonna encourage you to drink, Steve, but if you were to drink, this would be a good.
That's a good way to go. All right.
Oh, you don't need much. Half of this, and I'll be anybody's. Go ahead.
It's like just taking one hit. You know what I mean, Steve?
I do. I know exactly what you mean.
All right, that's all you need. So over here, this is a very special episode for us. We're pretty excited to have you on. So, I went with Pliny the Elder, which is a beer from Russian River Brewery up in Santa Rosa, California.
Yeah.
Considered one of the best beers in the entire world. I think like 5 straight years it was voted best beer in the world. So very special episode for us. So I'm drinking very special beer. So
cool.
Cheers, guys. All right,
Nice.
Drew, go ahead.
Buncha.
Mason might actually like this one. He might appreciate it.
Mason, you might actually appreciate this one. This is the Kershaw Wicked Curve.
Oh, yeah.
As a huge Dodger fan, when this first came available, I went and grabbed it immediately. And let's just say it's the beer of champions. You could probably imagine that. But no, it's a great beer, and all the proceeds go straight to the Kershaw's Challenge Foundation. So I love grabbing this beer whenever I can, and it's a delicious drink.
Nice.
So
I got to be there last year for the World Series championship.
Yeah,
I was in Dallas. That was crazy.
So I was going to ask you,
spectacular,
Steve. It's been basically a year since we were able to go see any sports live here in California. But you said you were at the Dodger game when they won the championship.
Yeah, I went to Dallas back in, I guess, late October, early November for the World Series, and I was just super careful. They were allowing up to 20% fans at the World Series. And I mean, I kept my N95 mask on, and I was really careful. But it was a calculated risk. I chased that team all over the country for the last 10 years, and I'll be damned if I wasn't going to be there when they actually won the whole thing. So I was really, really excited to be there and to be part of that.
Well, April 1st, they're supposed to be allowing fans at the game. So are they going to be doing like the championship banner and all that on the opening day?
Yeah, April the 1st is the road opener. April the 9th is the home opener.
Okay.
And it's against Colorado. And I talked to Stan Kasten this week, the president of the Dodgers. He says they're very optimistic. They will be allowed to have 20% capacity at Dodger Stadium on opening day, which is better than nothing, which is actually great. And they are going to go ahead and unveil the World Series banner and hand out the rings on that day. Even though only 20% of the stadium will be filled, it'll still be great. It's a great television event, right?
It is. And I mean, I feel like we got kind of robbed with the Lakers because we're big Laker fans as well. And we didn't get that chance to, have fans in the arena for that. And I feel like the Dodgers having that opportunity is going to be something awesome. So even though I'm an Angel fan, but still, I like to see the fans there and getting in to celebrate like Drew. I know Drew's going to be happy.
Yep.
Yeah, very happy, Steve. And I have a burning question for you. I actually called into the Sedano show last March when it was announced that there was going to be no fans at all in stands. And my big question was, are the Astros finally going to get the punishment they deserve? Because we know that it's just a slap on the wrist, when they just find the team, and then Altuve and Bregman made that apology.
Right.
But having no fans in the stands, that was their only punishment they were really going to get. I mean, we saw last year in spring training how they were going at them pretty hard, and then all of a sudden COVID hits, and now we don't get to see any of that. So do you think 20% capacity is enough to actually boo these Astros the way that we need to?
Not the way that we need to. I mean, they need to own this for as long as their careers go. I mean, I don't care what anybody ever says about Jose Altuve, and maybe he'll make the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Seems like he's on pace for it. But all I will remember is that the year they were stealing signs, he batted .347 and won the MVP. And that's enough for me to say, all right, you benefited with your best season ever from cheating. I'm never going to forget that. I'm never going to let that go.
Yeah, it hurts, especially because the Dodgers were in it, So I think LA has a special place in their heart for the Astros, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I know. I
mean, last year, the only time the Astros were coming to LA was to play the Angels, right? They weren't going to play the Dodgers. So, but a lot of the Dodger fans were trying to buy tickets to go.
Yeah, we were going to do
Stadium.
a boo bus. We were going to take a bunch of listeners to Anaheim and do a boo bus.
But it didn't ever happen, did it?
Never did happen, unfortunately.
Those guys got off so easy.
By the way, we have 2 games against the Astros this year.
I hope they have at least 50% capacity for that game.
We have 2 games against the Astros at Dodger Stadium, August the 3rd and August the 4th.
Mark your calendars.
Be a bloodbath. But also, Steve, I mean, we see it's only been 1 year, so there hasn't been that much turnaround as far as or turnover as far as the team has gone. But we already see, George Springer's gone. Some new guys are coming in that don't necessarily deserve to get the boo treatment.
Right.
But how do you feel about that? I mean, that's what I kind of brought up on the Sedano show, is that after a year, it doesn't wear as much as it did when it just happened, when the season was just about to start.
Sure. So we found out, let's see, it was the 2017 season. We found out in 2019. Is that right?
I think so. Right at the end of the 2019 season.
Right at the end of the 2019 season. Yeah, we never really did get a chance to go at them hard. Now, we went at them hard on the air, and we went on them hard on social media and all that stuff. But yeah, not on them. And you're right, the team is different now. George Springer is he with the Mets or
Blue Jays?
Blue Jays,
I believe.
With the Blue Jays, but Altuve is still there. Correa is still there. There are still guys to boo. And by the way, I also don't believe in their pitching staff. I also agree with Trevor Bauer that there's some junk they're using to increase the spin rates on their pitches. So I don't trust Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole either.
Yeah, there's no reason to. And when you have the best pitching staff in all of baseball, I mean, does it even matter to care whether or not they do have a legit pitching staff?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, the Dodgers are so friggin' loaded. I mean, if you think about that rotation and you go Buehler and Kershaw and you go reigning Cy Young Award winner in the 3rd slot, and then former Cy Young Award winner David Price 4th, and then some combination of Urias and May and Gonsolin and Jimmy Nelson, all of a sudden you've got just a deep rotation that I think over the course of 162 games is going to be unbelievably productive.
Are you scared of the Padres at all?
I think I like what they've done from a baseball perspective. I think their new owner is a guy named Peter Seidler, who's a investment banker here in Los Angeles. I like what they did, and I like the willingness to invest. I don't think I would have given Fernando Tatis Jr. a 14-year contract. They've got Manny Machado on a 10-year deal. I think short term looks really good. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to win 95 games. I think we're going to win 105 games. But the Padres are the second best team in the National League now, and we're going to have some really good games against them this year.
Because it was nerve-wracking last year in the playoffs. It went all the way to that last game, and they gave everything they had. So
yeah, they did. No, the Padres are scary, and the 162 games I don't worry about. The Dodgers have got so much depth, both in terms of in the field, at the plate, on the mound. What I worry about is those last 11 games. Those last 11 wins are the really, really tough wins. And they're the ones that if somebody goes cold at the wrong time, if somebody blows up in a start, if a reliever throws gas on the fire, if one of those things happen, multiple things of those things happen, you wind up out of the playoffs. It's really tough to get those last 11 wins. I have no question we're going to be there, but the last 11 will be just as dicey as ever.
I'm actually excited because I really have a lot of confidence in Dave Roberts. I'm excited to see what he does with those young players and how he develops them and he gives them their confidence. I heard a really good interview with him and Coach K from Duke, and they were really getting into it. And I think his ability to have faith in young players is what makes the Dodgers so great. What do you think on that, Steve?
Dave is the master of balancing egos. Like, he knows how to deal with big personalities. Like, normally I would say Trevor Bauer is a bit of a bomb thrower, right? I mean, he's a social media troll. He's okay with that. He doesn't mind that. On a normal team, I would say, well, I would worry about that disturbing the clubhouse. With Dave Roberts, I don't. I think he does a great job of balancing personalities, taking care of egos, making sure everybody gets what they need, finding time for young players that need some grooming coming up. Like this year, I'm watching Gavin Lux is a guy that I really want to watch coming up and see exactly what he's got and the way they bring him along. He feels like he's been around forever. He's only had 153 major league at-bats. And some people are like, Lux, maybe he's not going to have 153 major league at-bats is nothing. I still feel very confident about that. But yeah, Dave's relationship with the players, both the big stars and the young guys, are one of the reasons why he's been so successful.
Yeah. And when you have someone like Justin Turner and Clayton Kershaw signing off on the guy, those are big clubhouse presences that if they're cool with him coming in, then, he has something to provide to the Dodgers. So I'm all for that.
Yeah. Well, I worked for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes for 7 years. So
Yeah.
I saw all these guys come through, and it's just amazing how easily they've taken the young guys and just put them right in, and they're all stars right away. Like Corey Seager, Cody Bellinger, all those guys coming through. So
What did you do
Gavin
for
Lux
the
was there.
Quakes?
I poured beer.
Oh, nice.
I love beer. So I was one of the bartenders out in left field. And
I worked in the minor leagues. I worked for the Toledo Mud Hens in the International League and was the traveling secretary.
So
for 2
it's
years.
a great place to work. I mean, especially, I got to just hang out with all the guys and everything. And, just watching the game for free every single day and seeing those guys. Yeah. Seeing those guys. I mean, before anyone really knows who they are. And then by the time they get to the Dodgers, I'm like, yeah, I've already been seeing them play for a season or two. And they don't surprise me because I saw them hit bombs out there in Rancho Cucamonga. So I know they were going to do it for the big club. So it's pretty awesome. Even though like I said, I'm still an Angel fan. Why don't we ever invest in pitching?
Why don't the Angels?
Yes. I cannot
Totally
figure
fair
out.
question. That's a totally fair question. I mean, they signed Rendon last year. Obviously they got Trout long-term. I'm trying to, I don't follow the American League nearly as closely as I do the National League. The subject of the Angels doesn't come up much on the show.
I know. Yeah. We're an afterthought, just like the
They
Clippers.
don't make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. But I can't even think who's in their rotation.
I can't either. That's how bad it is.
I mean, Shohei Ohtani is going to be in their rotation.
Yeah. He makes me nervous though. We've invested a lot of money in him and he seems to always get hurt. So, it seems like we don't have a problem investing in bats, but when it comes to pitching, I can't even tell you the last ace we had. I mean, Jared Weaver, maybe
Garrett Richards,
but he kept getting hurt too. The last solid, like number one guy
was probably
Jared Weaver. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's embarrassing. I mean, we got to invest at some point, and maybe it's time for Artie Moreno to go. I'm just saying it.
I completely think it's time for Artie Moreno to go.
Yeah, and we can also ditch the LA Angels of Anaheim. Let the Dodgers run LA. Let's not pretend like we do.
The LA Angels of Anaheim. Who invented that idea? That guy should be fired.
Artie Moreno.
Steve, I got a real question for you, Steve.
Yes.
I mean, you got the 2 podcasts, you got the radio show, you got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure you visit family here and there. When do you sleep?
I sleep more than you would think. I do a pretty good job with sleeping. I mean, I've got actually the one podcast. I probably spend, I don't know how long you guys spend on your podcast, but I probably spend a good 25 hours a week on my podcast, getting it out every week, getting the right guests and getting it produced and all that stuff. And then, the show is kind of preparation nonstop. Like, my life is preparation. What did I have for breakfast? What game did I watch last night? What movie did I see? All that stuff winds up on the air. So I think kind of life is preparation for both shows at all times. But I think sleep is so underrated as an activity. I try to sleep 10 hours a night, and John Ireland doesn't sleep. He does not sleep at all. I have no problem sleeping. Love sleeping 10 hours a night. I look forward to sleep. It's fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I love the
sleep's got a bad rap.
I love the conversation between you and Sue on your podcast, because she gives you so much lip, but it's like you're like, the conversation is about to begin, and then you're like, oh, we're interviewing this guy over here. And I was listening to it, and just like, hold on. It's not about us. It's about, I heard a really good one with Patrick Fabian from Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
That was a very enjoyable podcast to listen to. And I didn't want it to end. That's how good of a podcast,
Oh, that's nice, man.
You get, when you get to speaking to somebody that's interesting like that, you're like, oh, all right. Let us have it. So Steve, like, what is like the benefits of having that podcast? Do you feel like there's an internal enjoyment, or is it external glorification, or what do you think? Or is it just to keep Sue outside and happy, alive, or what is it? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I do it for Sue just to keep her alive. I for years I did radio that wasn't sports. I did just an all-purpose FM talk morning show in New York. I did a show with Tom Snyder for years, an interview show. And, now that I've sort of found my way into Mason and Ireland, and we've been at this for a long time, I was looking for another way to talk about more of the stuff that I also like. I am a big movie junkie. I probably see, 60 or 70 movies a year. I've seen all the movies that are nominated this year, and a lot of the people that have been nominated have been on the podcast, which is cool. But yeah, there's more, I guess there's more than just the goofy Steve Mason that we hear on the radio. Back there, there's actually a person back there who's not a complete crazy buffoon. So this is my area to be regular Steve, I guess.
Well, speaking of crazy buffoons, Steve, I had a question for you about just being in the podcast world.
Yeah.
I hate the sound of my voice when I listen back to podcasts, and I'm sure this is a thing that everyone deals with. How do you get through that, like listening back to podcasts and just hating the way you sound, cringing every time, and also the way you look as well? I hate the way I look.
Well, dude, seriously, you hate your voice, you hate the way you look. Come on, man, we got to pump you up.
Deep depression state,
which
man.
is
but no,
funny,
seriously,
we got the ultimate hype man over here, George. But
George is a great hype man. But seriously, how do you get past the voice thing? Because it's a cringe thing every time I listen to the podcast.
Well, I mean, I think the more you do it, the less you care, if that makes sense. The great thing about doing radio is that once you're done, like you're done. You don't listen to that again. That is gone forever. So I never go back and listen to any of the live shows that I do. Those just sort of disappear at the end of the day, and I don't have to worry about them anymore. Podcasts, I do. I've got a producer, but I do have to sometimes go in and do some of the mixing and stuff like that on it. And I do find myself to be very annoying. So I do know your feeling. But you get used to it after a while. The longer you do it, the more you get used to it, I think.
No, but Steve, you have multiple different voices, and there's, code switching. And I think Drew needs to just get used to that. I think that code switching, like, hey, I think the happiest clip I've seen of you, because I was like, I gotta do a little research on this Steve Mason gentleman. I gotta get an idea. But the happiest I've ever seen you was with you with the LAFC, and you had this big old, what was it, hawk that you had
It
on
was
your arm? Can you
yeah,
explain
no, it's
how?
a falcon. A falcon.
Falcon, yeah.
Falcon. Sorry, but the Falcon, like, so. Can you explain how fast was your heart beating? Was it like through the roof? Did you like almost have a heart attack? I mean, what happened?
It was a crazy night. It was one of the most memorable nights of my whole life, because so it was LGBTQ night at LAFC, and I was chosen as the honorary Falconer. Somebody does that every single game. The Falcon flies off of their wrist. And so first I got to go down to all the fans who were just crazy down there at the LAFC, the 3252, which was a blast. Then Will Ferrell came up to me and said, hey, Mason, I listen to your show all the time. I'm like, oh, that is so awesome. I'm the one that's supposed to say I've seen Anchorman 20 times.
Yeah.
Instead, he says he's listening to my show. And Will Ferrell remembered my mom, said, oh, Donna, you're Steve's mom. He talks about you all the time. And then the actual process of doing it was it wasn't really nerve wracking. It was more just like pure excitement. I knew I was in really good hands. I knew the Falcon would take off the way he was supposed to take off and all that stuff. But it's interesting to have that much attention on yourself in a building.
Is LAFC the best atmosphere in LA sports?
Boy,
No
that's
way.
a good question.
A lot of people say that it is, and I have yet to go to a game. I want to go, but I don't know. Like USC football is up there.
UFC football, UFC Dodger Stadium, Lakers games. I mean, it's a really tough town. I will say that is one of the coolest experiences in Los Angeles is to go to see a game at Bank of California Stadium. It's a beautiful venue. I mean, I went to see Mumford & Sons there last year, or whenever the hell that was, 2 years ago, I guess. And it's a great place for a concert too. But yeah, Bank California Stadium is really cool. And going to an LAFC game is a cool experience. I wouldn't say like it's the ultimate sports experience, but it's definitely one of the great sports experiences.
Well, when you go to a Laker game, it's like going to church for the first half, and then the fans kind of wake up at halftime, and then most of them leave by the middle of the fourth quarter to beat traffic. So it's only like that little bit of time in the third quarter when the Lakers go on like a 15-0 run where it's like super exciting, and the rest of the time it's I don't know. But when playoff basketball,
we don't have the most rockin' fans.
No, but playoff basketball is a different story. And I've been to a few great Lakers playoff games, and they've been pretty fun. So,
and Dodger Stadium is just classic cool. I mean, it's hard to beat Dodger Stadium, the third oldest park in the league, and absolutely beautiful. I think it is my favorite baseball park.
Mine too. A close game at Dodger Stadium where they pull it out is one of the craziest atmospheres you'll ever be in.
It really is.
They've had a lot of close games lately. They've had a lot of extra innings the last few years because Kenley Jansen, he seems to blow it a lot.
Oh, Kenley Jansen, yeah. He does tend to blow those saves, doesn't he? I think Kenley's going to have a good year.
I think so too.
I think Kenley's going to rack up 35 saves.
He was suffering from COVID last year. He had a little bit of a setback there. And,
True, he did. Yeah,
hopefully he's coming back stronger now.
At least the Dodgers are good enough to get their closer into the game because the Angels closer never even starts warming up.
Right. They never even see the Angels closer. Exactly.
Who is the Angels closer? I don't know.
I can't even tell you. I know Mike Trout and Rendon. That's it. So it shows how good of an Angel fan, but they're not worth watching. So
I got a question for you, Steve. What is I know you have these great moments, but what is the highlight as a radio personality? When it was like, okay, this is my own show, has my name on these billboards. I've seen your name on the billboards. I'm like, I'm messing that guy, fucking Steve Mason. So, but what was the biggest highlight as a radio personality, or as a culture fan that you are? What was the biggest highlight?
The biggest highlight was there was a charity roast for me. And it was at the Commerce Casino, and the place was packed. There were probably 500 people there, listeners to the station. And I got absolutely roasted by Ireland, by Ramona Shelburne, the Kamenetsky brothers, our former producer, Dave Singer, O'Shea Jackson Jr. They just totally killed me. And I thought it was the funniest time that I have had in ever. They were so funny. And it's weird being the center of attention. And it's weird to know that everybody's watching me to see how I'm going to react to what they're saying. But I thought it was the coolest night. I met so many fans and listeners there. That's my favorite night of my career.
I remember hearing a lot about that on the show.
Oh, it was a blast. It was a blast.
That must be similar to when they were telling Kobe to shoot. They were just watching Kobe just to shoot, and you were just like, "What's his reaction going to be like? What's his reaction? I mean, is he dying? Is he going to have a heart attack from the laughter? What's he like?" Drew is salivating with another question. I always see when I see Drew's face like that, I know he's salivating. What do you got, Drew? Come on, give it to us.
Well, I've been listening to your show since I was like a freshman in high school, and I know the history of you changing your name from Steve Machonsky. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Machonsky, yeah. So, I was curious why that was in the first place, and I was also curious if you think any of us need to change our names to be good in Hollywood.
Okay, that's a good question. So, when I was coming up as a DJ, Machonsky just didn't roll off the tongue. I ended up doing a morning show in Toledo, Ohio, Mason in the morning. Machonsky in the morning didn't have the same ring to it and was deemed as too ethnic by the people I worked with. So I chose Mason because of the similarity. So years later, my grandmother and grandfather, this would be my dad's side of the family, came to visit. And my dad was really worried because they thought my grandmother and grandfather would think that I changed my name because I was ashamed of the name. And so they heard me on the radio for the first time. And I saw my grandpap afterwards. And I said, he said, it's funny you chose the name Mason. When I was dating your grandmother, being Polish wasn't the best thing in the world. So I changed my name to Mason when I started dating her. So my grandfather had used the name Steve Mason when he was dating my grandmother to hide the fact that he was Polish. So he wasn't upset at all. He found it to be kind of a crazy, weird tribute kind of thing. What are your last names?
We got Drew Jenkins, Jason Levy, and George Estrada. George Estrada is a spot-on name, by the way.
Yeah, they all are. They are all spot-on names. Those totally work. I wouldn't change any of those.
All right, so we're good. All right, well, we know you're a Rams fan and part of the Ramily, so
yes,
we can't have you leave without asking you some Rams questions. So how do you feel about Stafford coming in?
Love Stafford coming in. This is the guy that Sean McVay wants to coach. This is a guy who has struggled along, sort of has been great, but in obscurity in Detroit. And a lot of people haven't seen him play a lot. If you have him on your fantasy team, he's always been really good. He always racks up points. But he finally gets to play for a winning team and a winning organization and a coach who's going to build the offense around him. I think that Jared Goff, for whatever reason, just completely fell apart this last year. And clearly McVay was frustrated. Clearly Les Snead was frustrated. They were going to make a change no matter what it took. And I think Stafford is the perfect guy to bring in. Perfect guy.
So
how many years do you think Stafford has with the Rams?
Well, he's 32 years old. They're already talking about signing him to an extension. I mean, I think he's got 5 years. I mean, we live in an era where, there's a 43-year-old quarterback in Tampa Bay, and there's a 39-year-old quarterback in New Orleans, and there's a 39-year-old quarterback in Pittsburgh. And, he's only 32. You could make the case that he is in his prime right now.
Hey, I'm a huge Matthew Stafford fan. I'm a big Bulldogs fan. I don't know how that ended up because, I got adopted by a big family that, went to the University of Georgia. Stafford is a baller. I mean, he's a competitor. He's exciting to watch. I mean, he's going to keep the Rams into some of these games with the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the 49ers. Those are the NFC West is no joke. I mean, they're excited. I don't know what my point is here, but it's
but I agree with you. The NFC West, J.J. Watt landed in Arizona. NFC West is the toughest division in football, and for that reason, I think it's hard to come out of there and get the number 1 seed out of the NFC West. It's hard to go 13-3 when you're playing those 3 teams twice. I think that's why I think this is probably, it feels like a 12-4 kind of team to me, which I will take every day of the week. I don't think it's a 13-3 team, but I think it's a 12-4 team. And, defensively, they've got those guys to build around. I mean, they've got Aaron Donald and they've got Jalen Ramsey. We're going to lose Leonard Floyd. We're going to lose John Johnson. We're going to lose Troy Hill. So we're going to lose some of the defensive firepower that we had. But we're going to be bringing in some other guys. And one of the rumors, I consider it to be a credible rumor, is that the Rams may somehow come up with Von Miller at the end of the day.
Ooh, that would be huge.
Amazing.
That'd be dangerous.
Amazing.
That's the first I've heard of that.
And the other guy that I keep hearing is Marvin Jones, the wide receiver.
Wide receiver, yeah, with the Lions.
Funny story. I was a kicker in high school, and I got 2 touchdowns ran back on me as a kicker. One of them was Marvin Jones. And then,
really?
Yeah. And then the other one was a guy that ended up playing for the Chargers. I cannot think of his name right now, but I could say that only 2 guys ever ran a kickoff back on me, and they were both NFL players. So
nice. That's good.
Marvin Jones was one of them. And it was our homecoming game. So people weren't too happy with me after the game, but it is what it is.
I could see the Rams struggling. I could see the Rams struggling to start off the season, and then they're going to pick it up. And you know what? Sean McVay is a special talent. I think there's that little switch in his brain where he remembers everything too well. Yeah, that thing is crazy. I mean, you got to have mad respect. What do you think of Sean McVay's job as a coach so far for the Rams?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to think. He went 11-5, 12-4, 9-7, and then this year, he's been phenomenal. I mean, to put together 4 seasons the way he has, out of the box as a 32-year-old guy, is amazing. And you know how well he's doing by the fact that he keeps losing coaches to other teams. All of a sudden there's Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, there's Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, now there's Brandon Staley at the Chargers. I mean, they keep trying to get whatever magic Sean McVay has in the bag by continuing to hire his assistant coaches. But I mean, I see no reason not to believe that Sean McVay is going to be the dominant coach in the NFC West for the next decade.
Yeah,
Kyle Shanahan, dude. Kyle Shanahan, big time. See, I'm a Niners fan, but I respect Sean McVay for what he does.
No, Shanahan's good.
He's excited. I mean, he comes in with the Yeezys. He goes into the meetings with the cool shoes. I mean, $500 shoes. I mean, the players love him. They want to play for a Kyle Shanahan. His dad, he has a great mentor who keeps him around. He learns as much as he can. I think that it's going to be Niners, Rams. The Seahawks just defensively are not built this year. The Cardinals don't have a winning personality. They don't have, I don't know. I'm like Cliff Kingsbury.
So you think it's Rams and Niners this year?
Yeah, 100%. NFC West, those top 2. I mean, there's going to be the Seahawks have a good shot of making the playoffs.
With Jimmy Garoppolo out there?
No way.
It doesn't matter who's that quarterback.
I was going to ask.
Shanahan.
By the way,
Kittle,
words not spoken by any NFL executive. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback.
Put him in the dirt, Steve.
George, would you trade Garoppolo for Cam Newton?
No, absolutely not. At least with
you said
Jimmy
it doesn't
G,
matter who's playing quarterback.
No, but financially, that would be a healthier decision. But the thing about Jimmy G is that he actually could play like right now. Like, I love Cam Newton's athletic abilities, and he's got everything going for him. But I don't trust him more than I can carry Steve Mason. See, I can't even carry you, so I can't.
Right.
I mean, so why would I trust Cam Newton? I love that he is a maturing, awesome adult. I think he's getting better and better as a human being. I love Cam Newton for what he's doing, but I just don't see him becoming a better player as he's already regressed. Like RG3 had his window, he regressed, and I love RG3, big fan. Super sharp. But when you come to those athletic quarterbacks, Josh Allen is going to have maybe 3 more years really, really good, and then he's going to regress. I'm just predicting it,
See, I think Josh Allen is Ben Roethlisberger.
Where he can just last forever.
that he's going to last forever, that he's not going to necessarily run as much, but he's going to be durable and physical and escapable.
He's a big body.
He's a big body. Exactly. That's why I compare him to Ben. Jimmy G, I got to be honest. I've not seen enough of Jimmy G to know if he's a big time NFL quarterback. And even when he was playing, they were running the football nonstop.
Well, that's exactly what you're like, Steve. So with Jimmy G, Kyle Shanahan sets his players up for success. With
Right.
Kittle's like, this is what Kittle does to Kyle Shanahan. It's like, I want to hit that guy on defense. I want to block that guy. And so if he does that every once in a while for Kittle, gets him pumped up to play, like, then everything else opens up, because Kittle's going to be blocking. They got the best fullback in Juszczyk. They just can run the ball, and then that opens everything else. And Jimmy G's is got an easier job. And you just got to have a lot of faith in Kyle Shanahan. He's winning games with the 39ers.
Am I a guest on Niners talk right now?
Sorry.
This is just George from Wyoming.
Yeah, George from Wyoming hyping up the 49ers. But
hey, I'm just saying the NFC West is going to be close. Jason, you got a question. You've been waiting on deck. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
We brought in Stafford, so I'm really happy about that. But I was kind of hoping for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Why didn't we go for Deshaun Watson? Was he too expensive?
Well, as of today, when we're recording this, so far the Houston Texans haven't even picked up the phone on a trade offer for Deshaun Watson.
Watson won't pick up the phone for the Texans either.
Right. I mean, that stalemate is going to play out at some point, but on the Rams timeline, do you want to risk waiting to see if Deshaun Watson's actually going to be traded? And by the way, the other thing is, if Matthew Stafford is 2 1s and a 3, what is Deshaun Watson?
Yeah,
just 4 number ones.
Potentially.
Well, the Rams have shown that they're willing to part with their number 1 picks. They don't value them like other teams do.
No, definitely don't. I mean, I don't think we have any number 1 picks. We trade them as soon as we get them.
Yeah, I mean, let's
we
just like the Lakers.
We traded him for Ramsey. We traded him for Stafford.
But I'm okay with that because I would rather have proven guys over a maybe.
Absolutely. 100%. I'm with you. I'd rather have a quarterback I've seen play. I'd rather have Matthew Stafford than Trevor Lawrence, because I don't know what Trevor Lawrence is going to be in the NFL.
Hey, I've seen Trevor Lawrence in person. He's awesome.
I'm sure
he misses a lot.
But until I see him do it in an NFL uniform, I'm gonna have questions. I mean, I've seen now guys, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota go 1-2, both bust. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff go 1-2, both bust. It's like, if you take a quarterback in the first round, you got about a 50% chance of being right. And I'd rather somebody else take that risk.
Yeah, I agree. And from what you said earlier, McVay really wanted Stafford.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with the quarterback that my coach wants.
Yep.
And I think they'll work well together. I heard there's some connection there between McVay and Stafford's wife or something.
Well, they were both in Mexico at the same, that story. They were both in Mexico at the same time when the deal went down.
Yeah, I heard they were hanging out or something.
Yeah,
so
they were hanging out.
I mean, they're just good friends. They're just good friends. So they wanted to hang out. Or they want to be on the, they want to be able to work together. So I agree. I think it's going to be a great year for the Rams. And we're going to the Super Bowl, George. Sorry, 49ers.
No,
so
yeah, we're going to the Super Bowl. This is our year.
All right.
Drew, what do you got I know you got something coming.
Yeah, Steve, we'll let you go right after this, but there's been a debate on this podcast. This is a beer podcast, of course, but we always ask our guests, what is your favorite buzzed food to eat? And I mean, you can talk about, if you're stoned or if you're a little bit buzzed on beer, but we all have a debate and there's a lot riding on this. So we're very interested in to see what you have to say.
Okay. So Domino's has got these pieces of like crust dough that they put in the oven and they bake. Then they roll them around in sugar and brown sugar and oil. And then you dip those into the kind of icing that you see at Cinnabon. That to me is the ultimate stone food.
Okay. Well, I can respect that, not being a stoner myself, but in the buzz world, obviously the answer is
I got a terrible sweet tooth. The other one I love is I go to Popeyes. I'm a big Popeyes
There you
guy.
go,
I
fried
love
chicken.
that
Chicken.
fried chicken sandwich is great.
At least he had a great answer for us, because most people we ask, they're just like, they
Yeah.
blank. They don't know
I had
what
a
to
very,
say.
you know
So we
why I had
appreciate
such a
that.
detailed answer is because last night I was really rocked and I ordered Domino's, so it was fresh in my mind.
There you go.
Steve, you're kind of a little legend, man. But you know, I have a mentor. He's a legend in his own mind. You actually might be a legend, Steve.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
To us LA sports fans, you are a legend. So we really
well,
appreciate
thank you,
you coming on our show and hanging out with us and talking a little bit of sports with us.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right,
Thanks,
Steve.
Thank you
Steve.
so much.
Appreciate
we
it.
appreciate you and keep doing the great work. And I'll be listening to the culture from you, man. I want to hear the culture pop.
Cool. We'll do them, man. We'll do them. Thanks.
All
Hey,
right.
by the way, guys, tweet me a link to this and I'll retweet it for you too.
Sounds
Yes,
great.
sir.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
cool.
We will.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me.
All right. Have
Of
a great
course.
night.
Take care.
See you guys.
Take care, Steve.
So, all right, that was an awesome guest. I know you guys really appreciated having Steve Mason on. As a LA sports fan and listening to him on the radio for the last 15 years, it's just amazing that such a big personality would come onto our show and help us out. So, really a great time with him. But we want to do like we always do. We want to highlight a local brewery. Golden Road is our brewery of the day. Definitely some great memories for me working at Quakes. We had a nice left field beer station that was sponsored by Golden Road. And I know, George, you had a lot of opportunity to drink their beer. What'd you think of Golden Road's beer?
Oh my goodness. The memories. I mean, the smells. The Wolf Pup IPA and the brown. Oh, that get up off the brown was delicious. And then later on, they came out with this mango tart and pineapple cart. But no. It's all about the brown, the Point Away IPA. Man, I could drink those, you know, like every day if I had unlimited sleeping abilities. But no, I think the best thing about that time in my life was being able to hang out with my boy Jason, and then I would always bring another special guest to come along. Sometimes I'd bring my cousin, sometimes I'd bring my boy Rocket, and then sometimes I'd bring my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. It was such a memorable time because there was no stress. You show up, you get a beer, you talk it out. You watch some TV. We got the TV going on in the corner. We got the Kings playing or the Lakers playing or whoever else. The real Dodgers are playing. And then you go and you sneak over there and you talk a little smack to the boys, the relievers, the young relievers. And then we'd be talking about how they're paying all this money to this young guy over here, and he's never going to make it to the leagues. And we trade him away a couple years later. But it was a great time watching those the Quakes play, man. I mean, sometimes we'd watch the game, sometimes we wouldn't. Most of the time, I'd be there to hang out with my boy Jason. Right, Jay?
Right. Drew, have you had a chance to have Golden Road's beer at all?
I haven't, but you know, George makes a great point. Some of my favorite breweries are only because I've been able to hang out with my best friends there. And George, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. It's all about who you're with, not necessarily what you're having.
Golden Road has a special place in my heart. Like I said, I worked at the Quake Stadium, and we had an area that I worked in where we served Golden Road's beers, and they sponsored it. But also, I remember going to the Anaheim tap room, and it was the best known secret. It was like, I think around like 2016 or something. The brewery itself in LA was founded in 2011. In 2016, I used to go to this tiny little hole in the wall tap room that was right across the street from Angel Stadium. And you could park on the street that the brewery was on for free. Like, they just, for some reason, it was like the only place within like 5 miles of Anaheim Stadium that you could park for free. So I'd go there at like 4:00, and they had this great happy hour at the tap room. And it was only like maybe 5 tables at this place. And we would go in and we'd get like their happy hour beer was like $4 a pint. And so we'd go there at, 4:00, and for a 7:00 game, we enjoyed, our happy hour for a couple hours, and we just walk across to the game. We didn't have to pay for parking, and we got cheap beer before we even went to the game. And then I went back in like 2017, and they built this monstrosity of a place on the same. They like tore down the old like warehouse that it was in, and they built this giant tasting room. It's not even a tasting room. It's like a full-on restaurant now. And they have like big fire pits out, and they got ping pong and cornhole and all kinds of stuff going on. But I'll never forget that 2016 year when I saw it was a little hole in the wall tap room across from Angel Stadium. It'll have a special place in my heart forever. So,
Well, the other thing about that place, Jason, like you're saying, is the beer is actually good. I mean, you could have a hole in the wall brewery and it could have bad beer. I mean, there's this thing called diacetic acid, and it's a distinct taste. And when you taste it in a beer, it's probably going to be in all of the beers because that just means a poor cleaning method. I've never had that issue at Golden Road Brewery. They have very clean beer and very delicious beers, and it's very like I would say, if you're looking up for a style of a beer, they got their session IPA, which means that if you don't know what a session IPA is, it means an IPA that you can drink multiple of before you can't walk up any stairs. So then they got their point the way IPA. You might get one or two in you, but that might be all you can fit in there, and you'd be walking crooked. So let's go ahead and Jason, what else you got on the docket for us tonight, big dog?
well, to go along with Golden Road, we always try to relate our sports to the beer in some way. So we decided this time we were going to talk about our favorite gold medal athletes. From what I'm hearing right now, we should actually have a chance to have the Olympics this summer. It will not be the same as what we normally get, but I do love the Summer Olympics. You can turn on the TV at 2 a.m. to NBC Universal, and you can get some team handball. There's always something going on. Speed walking. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's exhilarating. But the Summer Olympics are just awesome. So we wanted to relate Golden Road Brewery to our favorite gold medal athletes of all time. And mine, I'll start off, is Usain Bolt. Just a legend in the Olympics. And I think what makes me like him so much is how easy he made it look. Like, he is racing against the elite sprinters in the world, and he makes it look like they're not even on his level. I mean, he would literally be looking back and they'd be 3 steps behind him, and he's kind of slowing down and waving at him as he's crossing the finish line. So just his dominance on the track and his ability to just make it look easy is why I'm selecting Usain Bolt as my favorite Olympic gold medal athlete. What about you guys?
I'm gonna go with
George.
I'm gonna go with the great, awesome Carl Lewis. I mean, this guy ran the 200 meter, and the 4x1. He got 9 gold medals, 1 silver. I mean, this guy was this tiny little dude, and he was awesome. I mean, he's tiny, 6'2", but I mean, he wasn't as tall as Usain, but he was pretty dang fast. Carl Lewis is just a nice gentleman on and off the track. Who do you got, Drew?
Yeah, I went with Michael Phelps, 23 gold medals, and kind of contrary to what Jason was saying, it didn't always look super easy. I mean, he had a lot of blowouts, but at the same time, every time he started a race, it was like, is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And sure enough, he did it. But swimming is kind of a different animal than, track, because in the water, it seems like the races are a lot closer than they really are. But as someone that isn't a swimmer myself, every time I watched Michael Phelps go, I was just praying that he was going to win it all. And I mean, it might be a 1 second or half a second win, but they look a lot closer than they really are. And every time watching Michael Phelps was a true treat.
The fact that he could dominate
23 gold medals, 23.
The fact that he could dominate in every single race, it didn't matter. Like Usain Bolt, he just sprints in one, a straight line, and it's always a sprint. There's nothing there's no nuances to it. But swimming, Michael Phelps could do any stroke out there. He could do freestyle, he could do breaststroke, he could do butterfly. I mean, it didn't matter what he was doing, he was still dominating. So I think that is really, really, maybe one of the most impressive athletes of our generation.
The one cool thing about Michael Phelps is his diet. I mean, he was eating 11,000 calories a day. I mean, recommended for a human is about 4,000 maybe a day max. He was eating so much, right? And he actually started the season with a bunch of fat on him. And by the end of the season, he was still eating the same amount, but had no fat on him. That's how much he was working out. This guy is a stud. And he also knows how to party. He's our kind of guy. One day we'll get Michael Phelps on the show. I'm pretty sure he does like his beer and he does like to have a good time. So go ahead and let us know.
If I know anything about Michael Phelps, you might want to hang out with Steve Mason.
That's what I was saying.
I think they both like to partake just a little bit, which is
isn't it sad
fine.
that they were trying to like cancel Michael Phelps back in the day for that one thing when you look back at it, like
now
it almost hindered like his performance. It didn't enhance his performance whatsoever, and he comes back and just keeps winning and winning after that.
Well,
now it's kind of a joke.
Now it's legal
about it.
Now it's legal, so it's not even like taboo anymore. So if he got caught doing that today, they'd probably just like it wouldn't even be a news story. But back then, it almost wrecked his career.
It was an enhancer for the partying, but not for the athletic ability.
Exactly. All right.
Yes.
Well, your favorite segment, everybody's favorite segment, every single week. You hate to see it. What do you guys got this week for your hate to see it?
Drew, you may go first.
Well, you hate to see Yachty playing mind games. I'm talking about Yadier Molina. And even though it's a spring training game, I love it when the Astros get pooped on, for a lack of a better phrase. The Cardinals are playing the Astros in a spring training game, and Astros prospect Jose Siri gets on first base. He gets a pickoff attempt from Yadier Molina, and he almost gets caught, but he doesn't. And then he gives Yachty a little lie saying that like, oh, you didn't get me. And then Yachty looks at him and says, hey, steal, see what happens. So sure enough, Jose Siri steals and he gets thrown out by an absolute mile, maybe 2 miles, maybe 3. I didn't count, but he got thrown out by a mile. And then Yachty looks at him and goes, yeah, you shouldn't have stolen, haven't you? So you hate to see a geezer get in the head of a young boy. And that's exactly what happened here.
Yes, sir.
Yachty still got it.
Yeah, hate to see it. Right?
You hate to see it.
You hate to see it.
I have a very, very, very interesting take on you hate to see it this week. I was watching UFC, In and Out of Consciousness. This is after I got my second coronavirus shot on Friday. I was exhausted with a headache, and on Saturday morning I went skiing all morning, and I do what I do when I find some rookies. I teach them up and having a good time. But I get home and I say, I'm watching UFC. We got Israel Adesanya. We got Peter Yan and Amanda Nunes. 2 hate to see it moments. Number 1, Megan Anderson fighting against Amanda Nunes. Shouldn't have been even walked into the octagon. She had no reason walking in there. She got submitted within 2 minutes. And
what are you gonna do?
Easy for Amanda Nunes. Who does Amanda Nunes have to face? If she had to start facing dudes, like that's all right with me, because Amanda Nunes is a total bad ace, dude. Like she's awesome. I love to watch her. But the second hate to see it moment, because it was the fight right before, was Peter Yan defending his belt against Sterling Aljamain. His first name's actually Aljamain, but I like to say Sterling. I don't know. But Aljamain was in this fight. And if you know anything about these title bouts in the UFC, they go from 3 rounds, and then the title bouts are actually 5 rounds. You have to be physically fit for 5 rounds of punching in the face, knees to the face, whatever it is. And Peter Yan had this fight in the bag. All he had to do by round 3, all he had to do was just keep punching Aljamain on the ground. He was punching him. Aljamain had 1 knee on the ground, which means that he was down. And his corner, Peter Yan's corner, said, hit him. And Peter Yan kneed him. Boom. In the left,
temple.
More like the eyebrow, but it hurt. You could tell. But it was an illegal move because his knee was down. And a couple seconds later, they called time. They did the research. And Aljamain couldn't stand up. I mean, this guy was out. He got knocked out. He was truly concussed, if you've ever seen a concussed person. And it was kind of sad. But Peter Yan got disqualified for the fight because of his illegal hit. And Aljamain was crying in the interview saying, I don't want to win like that. You just hate to see it when something illegal happens and the outcome of the match or the fight changes because of an illegal activity or a foul. What do you think? You guys hate to see it?
Definitely hate to see it.
Well, what do you think about the people that bet on Peter Yan to win the fight? And he's absolutely dominating the fight. He just needs to put him out at this point. But instead, his corner tells him to do an illegal move, which Sterling's knee was on the mat. Next thing you know, Peter Yan's knee is in his temple or his eyebrow, as you like to say. And I mean, you do hate to see that more than anything, is the people who bet on Peter Yan to win this fight. And and then he loses by disqualification.
I think that's what you can call a bad beat.
That is a bad beat. That is a hate to see it. That is anything in the dictionary that you could think of that has to do with something not going your way. So you hate to see it.
You hate to see it. All right, I'll wrap up the hate to see it with mine for this week. And COVID is just the gift that keeps taking away, I think. I mean, every single time we turn around, COVID's taking something away from us. And this week it took away Embiid and Simmons from participating in the NBA All-Star game, because apparently before they came to Atlanta to play the All-Star game, they decided to get a haircut over in Philadelphia with their personal barber, and their personal barber tested positive for COVID. First, he had an inconclusive test, and then he ended up taking another test, and it tested positive. So they gave him another test, tested positive. So because of the NBA protocols, Embiid and Simmons were not allowed to play in the game. And, so much was talked about this NBA All-Star game of whether it should even happen in the first place. We mentioned it earlier in the podcast in a previous episode on whether or not they should even be playing this game. And for those guys to get voted in, to make the commitment to play, and then basically the day of the game be told that because of protocols, you're not going to be allowed to play, I think you hate to see it for those guys and also for NBA fans. I mean, Embiid is arguably, a lot of people might say, in the MVP conversation this year. And we know Ben Simmons is just an amazing basketball player. Say what you want about him being a championship guy, but he is an all-star. He is one of the best players in the NBA. We didn't get a chance to see them. Do you guys hate to see COVID taking everything, it seems like, away from us all the time?
You do hate to see it. I mean, you're talking about the first place team in the East right now, and that's Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid not being able to play in the game. I will say, though, are centers that interesting in the NBA All-Star game? I mean, what is Embiid going to do? I mean, he could rack up points and rebounds, but is that really a huge loss for that team that they were on?
I guess Giannis is considered a power forward, right? But I don't know. I might consider him a center. He was the MVP.
Yeah, but when you talk about Flash, you talk about Flash in the NBA All-Star game. I mean, Flash is usually dunks and or three-point shooters. Embiid can be that, but he's usually just he plays bully ball down in the paint. I think Ben Simmons, though, could have really been the MVP if he could have pulled out a triple-double in that game. And maybe, but he can't shoot threes at the same time. So you look at Damian Lillard, who's shooting half court threes to end periods, and that's really exciting. You do hate to see two players from the first place team in the East not make it to the actual All-Star game, but are they really going to be that much of a difference maker as far as the entertainment of the game?
No, but I think they made the commitment to go to play in the game.
They deserved it. Don't get me wrong. They 100% stats wise and performance wise, 100% deserved it.
And they weren't allowed to based on something outside of their control. I mean, a guy that they got a haircut from tested positive. Like, you're not going to know that guy you're getting a haircut from is going to test positive after you get the haircut. Like,
here's the real thing is that if this bleeds into the regular season where it actually matters, so is Embiid, I mean, that's going to be, look at the Nets are half a game behind them. That's going to be a real issue going forward. I mean, if they lose one or two games, I mean, the Nets aren't looking like they're going to lose too many games. They're adding a lot of players right now.
Sorry, George, we'll cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you just hate to see it because these two boys, and if they were real men, they would have vetted their barbers. Just saying, like, can't you get a haircut at the All-Star game? Like, freshen up right before the game, and then you have less ice and switching the game up.
Apparently, this is the guy. This is their personal barbers. This is the guy that they get haircuts from all the time. So they did vet him. I mean, he's been their personal barber the whole time. I'm pretty sure he's probably under some kind of protocol as well. But COVID can get you no matter what. I mean, as safe as you want to be, it can still come and get you. So
What I
you
actually
hate to
wanted
see
to
it.
end on, Jason, was you hate to see COVID still being around.
Exactly.
In
Well,
the first place. Yeah.
we did get some news that you do not hate to see, that in California, starting April 1st, we are going to be allowed to go to some sporting events at 20% capacity. They're going to be opening Disneyland. Like, things are starting to look up. So I'm hoping, you know what? Here's the thing. As an Angel fan, there's only 20% of the stadium full on a good day. So I might actually be able to just get my ticket and enjoy the game like I always did, because it's never full. So I'm super pumped. Hoping to get some Angels tickets, or if not, maybe some Padres tickets. I actually live closer to the Padres stadium now, but I'd love to go see a baseball game. But awesome podcast today, guys. Steve Mason, obviously the biggest guest we've gotten so far. Hopefully not the biggest guest we're ever going to have, but
Well, we'll see.
we definitely appreciated him coming on. I think it was very entertaining, and I had a great time talking to you guys. If you want to check out all of the latest happenings with the Backcourt BS podcast, go check us out on Instagram at Backcourt BS podcast. We are also, George is getting our YouTube channel going. So go search Backcourt BS podcast on YouTube, and you can find the live recording of the video for our podcast. And then Drew is also working on getting the Twitter going. So as soon as we get that going,
We do have a Twitter going.
Go ahead.
It is Backcourt BS on Twitter. So come and check us out. I think it's Backcourt_BS on Twitter. So come check us out. And we're going to be doing a lot of polls. We're going to be doing a lot of tweets. And we're going to let you know when the next podcasts are out. So come and get it.
Hey,
All right.
I've heard of a couple fans, but this is what I want to know from you fans. If you made it this far, could you send us a direct message on Instagram or on Twitter or on YouTube and just let us know who you think is the best gold medal Olympic athlete of all time? So do you think it was Usain Bolt, Carl Lewis, or Michael Phelps? If you got somebody else, we're all ears, and we'll even talk about it in the next episode. So let us know. Thank you for listening for this long, and we can't wait to be with you next week.
All right, guys, have a great night, and
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, everybody. Have a good night.